Okay, picture this with me for a second. You finally did it. You saved for years. You're ready to buy a home. You walk into an open house. And honestly, you fall a little in love. You can already see it. Your couch right there. Coffee on that counter. Maybe a kid running down that hallway one day. So you do the brave thing. You make an offer. And not a shy one. You offer above the asking price. And then you wait. You barely sleep. You refresh your phone every 10 minutes. Then the call comes. You didn't get it. Someone offered more. All cash. No inspection. Closing in 7 days. And you sit there thinking, who does that? Who has that kind of cash lying around? You picture another young couple. A little richer than you. A little luckier. And you tell yourself, that's just life. But here's the thing I really need you to hear. It probably wasn't a couple at all. It was a company. And to them, that home you fell in love with? It was just a line in a spreadsheet. Row 4,847, expected yield 6.2%. You weren't competing with a buyer, friend. You were competing with capital. And capital plays by completely different rules. Let me show you what actually happened. Grab a seat. Here's the part nobody really sat you down and explained. And it's the whole key to this. Not that long ago, a house was mostly one thing. A place to live, shelter, a roof, that's it. Oof. You bought it. You lived in it. You paid it off. You grew old in it. The end. Beautifully boring. Somewhere along the way, quietly, that definition changed. A house stopped being only shelter. It became an asset, a place to store money, a thing that's supposed to go up in value forever. And look, that sounds harmless. Maybe even good, right? If you own one, it gets more valuable. Who'd complain? But follow the thread with me. Because this is where it gets sneaky. If a house is an asset that always goes up, then it's not just families who want it. Investors want it. Hedge funds want it. Pension funds want it. People on the other side of the planet want it. Suddenly, your little starter home is competing in a global market for money. And you didn't even know you'd entered one. Let me give you the number that made my jaw drop when I first saw it. For most of modern history, a typical home cost about 3 times the typical yearly income. 3 years of work. Tough, but doable. You could see a path. Save, sacrifice, get there. Today, in a lot of cities, a home costs 7, 8, even 10 times the typical income. The goalposts didn't just move, friend. The whole field tilted. And here's the quiet little detail that explains so much of it. When something becomes an investment, the people who already own it have a powerful reason to keep the price climbing. Think about it. If your home is your biggest investment, do you want more homes built nearby that make it cheaper? Most people, totally understandably, say no. And that instinct, multiplied by millions, quietly chokes off new building. So demand keeps rising. Supply barely moves. And you already know what that does to a price. It goes up and up. And it leaves you standing at the open house, doing math that no longer works. And I want to be really clear about something. Because this matters to me. This is not you being bad with money. This is not you not trying hard enough. You are trying to buy a place to sleep in a market that's been redesigned to store rich people's money. Those are two completely different games, and nobody handed you the new rule book. So let me hand it to you now. Let's talk about who, exactly, you're bidding against. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And honestly, you'll feel a lot less crazy. And feeling less crazy, when the whole world is gaslighting you about this, is worth a lot. So let's meet your competition. And spoiler, it's not the nice couple you imagined. After the 2008 crash, millions of homes got foreclosed. Families lost everything. The market was on the floor. And while everyone else was scared, a few very large firms saw something else. They saw a sale. So they did something that had basically never been done at that scale. They bought houses, tens of thousands of them, single-family homes, the exact kind you and I grew up in, bought in bulk, like buying groceries. And they didn't buy them to live in. Obviously, they bought them to rent back to people like you. Think about how clever and how brutal that is at the same time. They buy the home you wanted. That removes it from the market. Now there's one less for you. Fewer homes for sale means higher prices, which makes the homes they already own worth even more. And then they rent it back to you at a price that makes it even harder for you to ever save a down payment. It's a loop. And from the inside, it just feels like life keeps getting more expensive for no reason. Now I want to be fair, because fairness matters. Big firms still own a small slice of all homes overall. Most homes are still owned by regular people. That part is true, and you'll hear it a lot. But here's the trick the headline hides. They don't buy randomly across the whole country. They concentrate. They pour into specific, affordable, growing neighborhoods, the exact ones first-time buyers need. In some of those neighborhoods, investors were buying 1 out of every 4 homes sold, sometimes more. So the national average looks calm. But the street you're actually shopping on? It's a war zone for that money. And you're showing up to that war with a mortgage pre-approval and a hopeful heart. They're showing up with cash, no emotions, and 100 other houses if this one falls through. You need this house. They need a house. Any house. That's the difference that quietly destroys you at the table. When you need something and the other side doesn't, you lose the negotiation before it even starts. That's not a personal failing. That's just leverage. And right now, you don't have it. They built it that way. Okay, I need to pause for 1 second, because if you're still with me, I want to say something real. And it's not the usual smash the subscribe button thing. Just hang with me for a moment. If any of this is making you feel a little less alone, a little less like the problem is you, that's the whole reason I make these. So do me a tiny favor. Drop a comment, just 1 word, telling me where you're watching from and whether buying feels possible where you live. I genuinely read them. It helps me understand how bad this is in different places, and it tells the algorithm to show this to someone who needs it. And if a friend of yours keeps blaming themselves for not owning a home yet, send them this. Seriously. It might lift something off them. That's it. No pressure. Subscribe if you want more of these, because we go places the finance gurus won't. Now, back to it. So we said new building gets choked off. But there's a second freeze happening right now that makes it even worse. It's something economists call the lock-in effect. And it's quietly one of the biggest reasons there's nothing to buy. A few years back, mortgage rates were incredibly low, like historically magically low. Tons of people who already owned homes locked in those tiny rates. Their monthly payment was a dream. Then rates more than doubled. And here's the trap that created. If that homeowner sells and buys a new place, they lose their dream rate and take on a much bigger payment for the same kind of house. So what do? Completely rationally, they stay put. They don't sell. And when millions of people all decide not to sell at the same time, the homes that would normally come up for sale just vanish. The market dries up. The few homes that do appear get swarmed. And you're back to losing bidding wars. See how these things stack? It's never just one villain. It's a system where every piece pushes the price the same direction, up. And almost none of those pieces care even a little bit about whether you, personally, get a place to live. Now you might be thinking, okay, but surely someone could fix this? Surely there's political will? That's the saddest, most fascinating part of the whole story, and it's where it really clicks. Because to fix high home prices, you'd have to let home prices fall, and that sounds great if you don't own a home. But here's who does own homes. Most of the people who vote. Most of the people in power. And almost everyone's retirement plan is tied up in it. Which means we've built a country where the solution to your problem is a threat to almost everyone with power. Let me unpack that. For most regular homeowners, their house isn't just a house. It's their entire life savings, their retirement, their safety. They were told their whole lives, the house always goes up. It's the safe bet, the American dream. So they bet everything on it. And honestly, for their generation mostly, it worked. But that means the moment prices fall, you're not just making homes affordable. You're wiping out millions of people's retirement. So no politician, left or right, actually wants prices to drop. They'll say they want affordability. Watch what they do. They'll offer first-time buyer grants, tax credits, special loans. And it sounds so helpful, doesn't it? But think for 1 second about what a grant actually does in a bidding war. If everyone buying gets an extra $10,000 to spend, what happens to the price of the house everyone's bidding on? It goes up by about $10,000. The help doesn't go to you. It goes straight to the seller. It's like everyone at an auction getting handed the same extra cash. Nobody's better off. The auctioneer just wins bigger. So these programs feel like they're helping buyers. But really gently, they prop the whole thing up. They keep prices high enough to protect the owners while looking like they're helping the people locked out. And I don't even think that's an evil master plan. That's the scary part. Nobody had to plan it. It's just a bunch of completely rational people, each protecting what they own, accidentally building a wall around the door you're trying to walk through. And you're standing on the other side of that wall, Being told to just try harder. That phrase, just try harder, might be the cruelest thing we say to your generation about this. Because you can do everything right. Great job, no debt, solid savings, and still not get there. Not because you failed, because the finish line is being held in place by everyone who already crossed it. Now, I refuse to leave you just feeling crushed. That's not why we're here. So let's talk about what actually helps. Not magic, not gurus, just honest, useful truth. First, the most freeing one. And I mean this. Stop carrying the shame. Shame makes you do dumb things with money. It makes you overstretch to prove something or give up entirely. When you understand the game is rigged in this specific way, you can finally play it with a clear head instead of a broken heart. And a clear head is exactly what you need for the next few things. Let me give them to you straight. 2. Separate the dream from the math. The dream is a home. The math is just shelter plus an asset bolted together. You can get the shelter part without winning the asset lottery. Renting is not failing. It's buying flexibility while the asset game is insane. If you rent and quietly invest the difference, you can still own a piece of that rising asset world. Just not all in one risky house. That's not a consolation prize. For a lot of people right now, it's mathematically the smarter move. And nobody tells you that. 3. If you do want to buy, hunt where the spreadsheets aren't looking. Investors love specific things. Cookie-cutter homes, easy-to-rent layouts, hot growing zip codes. That's their hunting ground. So sometimes the weird house wins, the odd layout, the one that needs a little love, the place a funds model won't touch. You're not competing with capital there. You're competing with other humans. And humans you can actually beat. 4. And this is the long game. This stuff is political, and political things can change. More places are starting to limit big investors buying up family homes. Some are forcing more building. It's early, but it's moving. And the more people who actually understand this, instead of blaming themselves, the more pressure builds to change it. Which, honestly, is the real reason I wanted to make this one for you. Because the people benefiting from this confusion are counting on you feeling alone and ashamed and quiet. The single most rebellious thing you can do is understand it clearly and refuse to carry blame that was never yours. You are not behind in a race you ran badly. You're standing at the edge of a market that was redesigned while you weren't looking. And seeing that clearly is the first thing that actually puts a little power back in your hands. So if you take one thing from our chat today, let it be this. The reason you can't easily afford a home is not a flaw in you. It's a feature of the system. And those are very different problems. A flaw in you would mean you're broken. A feature of the system means you just needed the real map. And now you've got it. So let's wrap this up, friend, the way friends do. With the honest version, owning a home might still happen for you. I really hope it does. Just maybe not on the timeline you were promised. And if it does, it'll be because you played a rigged game with open eyes, not because you finally tried hard enough. In the meantime, build wealth in the ways that are actually open to you, quietly, patiently, on your terms. And stop letting anyone, including the voice in your own head, tell you that you failed at something that was rigged from the start. If this helped even a little, you already know what to do. Drop that comment. Tell me where you're watching from. Subscribe if you want to keep seeing the world a little more clearly than the people who profit from your confusion. And send this to that one friend. You know exactly who. The one who keeps apologizing for renting. Next time we're pulling apart why you're always exhausted. But the money never seems to add up. It's a good one. Thanks for actually sitting with me through this whole thing. It means more than you know. You're not crazy, you're not lazy. You're just early to understanding something most people haven't figured out yet. And that, weirdly, is a kind of head start. Take care of yourself, I mean it. This was Wealth Autopsy. See you next time, friend.